Welcome to the high-stakes world of K-pop, where the stage lights are blinding, the fans are screaming, and the rules are changing faster than a chart-topping beat. It's 2026, and JYP Entertainment has just sent shockwaves through the industry by dropping a bombshell list of prohibited hobbies for their rising prodigies, the Starkids. Imagine being at the peak of your youth, a global icon with the world at your feet, only to be told that the very things that make you feel alive off stage are now strictly off-limits. Why would one of the big three giants suddenly tighten the leash on their brightest stars? Is this a desperate move to protect their multi-million-dollar investments from the unpredictable chaos of the modern world? Or is there a darker, more calculated strategy lurking behind the polished boardroom glass? From the neon-lit streets of Seoul to the private sanctuaries of the idols, we are diving deep into the luxury, the sweat, and the forbidden joys that have been deemed too dangerous for the spotlight. What could possibly be so risky that a simple pastime becomes a breach of contract? Could your favorite idol's secret passion be the very thing that costs them their career? Brace yourselves as we peel back the curtain on the most controversial bands of the year. The era of the perfect idol has reached a boiling point, and the secrets being locked away are more scandalous than you ever imagined. Get ready, because we are counting down the 7 reasons behind the Starkids' forbidden hobbies that have everyone talking. 7. Extreme VR immersion, dangerous digital escapism. As the neon lights of Seoul begin to dim in the early hours of 2026, a new kind of addiction has started to haunt the dormitories of JYP's newest sensations, the Starkids. We are talking about ultra-realistic VR immersion, a hobby that has transcended simple gaming to become a full-blown psychological hazard. In a world where these young idols are constantly scrutinized by millions of eyes, the allure of a 100% immersive digital universe where they can be anonymous, unremarkable, and free has become a siren song too loud to ignore. Insiders whisper about a specific incident during the winter of 2025, where a lead member was found late at night, still strapped into a high-grade haptic suit, so deeply lost in a simulated reality that they failed to recognize their own manager for several minutes. JYP's legal and medical teams immediately flagged this digital drifting as a threat to their mental grounding, fearing that the line between their stage persona and their virtual avatar was blurring beyond repair. The company argues that an idol's greatest asset is their presence in the real world, and this level of escapism risks creating a ghost performer who is physically on stage but mentally miles away in a coded paradise. It's not just about the potential for neck injuries or eye strain anymore. It's a battle for their very souls against a machine-generated dream that offers more comfort than their skyrocketing fame ever could. But if the virtual world is the only place they can truly breathe, isn't taking that away just another way of locking them in a golden cage? As we move up the list, the risks get even more physical. Do you know which seemingly innocent outdoor activity has been labeled a career-ending hazard for the group's main dancer? 6. High-altitude urban climbing, the gravity-defying risk. In the concrete jungle of 2026, a new thrill has gripped the Starkids, and it's enough to make any JYP executive break out in a cold sweat. Urban climbing, or buildering. This isn't just about scaling a gym wall. We're talking about the raw, adrenaline-fueled pursuit of conquering skyscrapers and architectural landmarks without harnesses, often under the cloak of night. For the Starkids' main dancer, whose agility is legendary, the rooftop of a Seoul skyscraper became a secret stage far from the cameras, a place where the only audience was the wind and the distant hum of the city. But the romance of the height turned into a corporate nightmare when a leaked, blurry video surfaced on a private forum, showing a figure resembling a band member dangling precariously over a 40-story drop just to catch a sunrise. JYP moved instantly, citing not just the obvious physical lethality one slip would end more than just a career T, but also the insurability crisis it created for their upcoming world tour. The agency argued that the group's limbs are literally multi-million-dollar assets, and risking a fracture for a view is a breach of the trust they hold with their investors and fans. This ban wasn't just about safety, it was about the cold reality that in 2026, An idol's body no longer belongs solely to them, it belongs to the brand. The tension between the idol's need for ultimate freedom and the company's need for total asset protection has reached a breaking point, leaving many to wonder if the stars are being protected or simply deactivated. But as dangerous as the heights are, could a quiet trip to the water be even more scandalous? What hidden depths of a secret deep-sea hobby forced JYP to hire a specialized maritime security team? 5. Deep-sea solo diving. The silent abyss trap. Beneath the sparkling turquoise waves of a remote private island, a secret world once offered the Starkids a level of silence that no recording studio could ever replicate. But in 2026, JYP has officially declared the ocean floor a no-go zone. We're talking about technical solo diving, a hobby that involves descending to extreme depths without a buddy, relying solely on high-tech rebreathers and nerves of steel. It started as a way for one of the group's most introverted members to escape the constant noise of idol life, seeking the weightless tranquility found 60 meters below the surface where the paparazzi's drones can't follow. However, the dream turned into a high-alert crisis when a sudden equipment malfunction during a solo excursion nearly led to a localized nitrogen narcosis incident. A terrifying state of confusion often called the rapture of the deep. Had the members' private security boat not tracked their biometric sensor in real time, the group could have lost a vital voice to the shadows of the sea. JYP's board of directors was horrified by the realization that their multi-million-dollar stars were risking pulmonary embolism and decompression sickness just for a few moments of peace. The ban was swift and absolute, backed by a new maritime safety clause that prohibits any underwater activity deeper than a standard swimming pool without a company-certified safety diver and a medical team on standby. The agency's stance is clear. They cannot protect what they cannot see, and the abyss is simply too unpredictable for a global brand to navigate. But as the idols are forced back to dry land, they've turned to the digital world for a different kind of thrill. What hidden danger in the world of illegal street modding has JYP scrambling to lock down the group's private garage? 4. Underground street modding. The fast and the forbidden. Deep within the secluded industrial districts of Incheon, a roar of high-octane engines used to signal a dangerous secret life for the Starkids' most rebellious members: illegal street modding and night racing. In 2026, the hobby of tuning, the art of stripping down luxury electric vehicles and hacking their firmware to bypass factory speed limiters, has become a high-stakes obsession for K-pop stars looking for a rush that even a sold-out stadium can't provide. It wasn't just about the aesthetics of neon underglows or carbon fiber wings. It was about the ghost drifting culture, where idols would take their modified beasts onto public highways at 3 a.m., pushing the limits of physics and legality. The situation turned critical when a high-profile Starkid was nearly caught in a coordinated police sting targeting illegal street races. The scandal of a JYP artist being handcuffed next to a smoking, modified supercar would have obliterated the group's clean image and resulted in immediate jail time. JYP's response was a total lockdown, seizing the keys to all private vehicles and installing mandatory GPS tracking governors on any car used by the group. The company's legal team argued that street modding isn't just a hobby, it's a felony waiting to happen. A cocktail of physical danger and public relations suicide that threatens the very foundation of the agency's stock value. They've replaced the smell of burning rubber with the scent of strict supervision, leaving the idols to stare at their empty garages. But as the physical world becomes more restricted, some idols have turned to an even more mysterious and socially volatile world. What kind of secret society networking has JYP fearing an internal coup or a massive information leak? 3. Anonymous high-stakes poker. The shadow economy scandal. Behind the velvet curtains of Seoul's most exclusive invitation-only underground lounges, a new and dangerous pastime has emerged that has JYP Entertainment pulling the emergency brake. Anonymous high-stakes poker. In 2026, it's not just about the cards. It's about the shadow economy, where idols, bored with their strictly managed bank accounts, seek the thrill of betting amounts that could fund a small village. The Starkids were drawn into this world by the promise of total anonymity, wearing masks in blackout rooms, where your identity is hidden, and your only reputation is the size of your stack. The breaking point came when a private investigator, hired by the agency to track a series of suspicious financial withdrawals, discovered that a member had inadvertently entered a game hosted by individuals linked to international money laundering rings. The terror for JYP wasn't just the loss of wealth, but the potential for debt entrapment, where a single bad hand could lead to an idol being blackmailed into leaking sensitive company data, or, worse, becoming a puppet for criminal syndicates. JYP's legal department intervened with a zero-tolerance gambling mandate, freezing the idol's independent access to large capital and forcing them into financial literacy programs. The agency realized that once an idol starts chasing the high of a blind bet, they become a liability that no PR team can fix, as the line between a hobby and a life-shattering addiction disappears in a cloud of cigar smoke. They've shut down the poker tables, but a much more personal and biological threat is lurking in the shadows of the idols' private lives. What controversial biohacking trend has JYP terrified of a permanent physical transformation? 2. Extreme cosmetic biohacking, the mutation of the idol image. In the ultra-competitive landscape of 2026, the pressure to look perfect has evolved into a terrifying new hobby that JYP has been forced to ban: DIY cosmetic biohacking. We aren't talking about standard plastic surgery performed in world-class clinics. We are talking about the underground trend of skin threading and neural pigmentation performed by unlicensed body modders in secret studios. For the Starkids, the desire to stay ahead of visual trends led some members to experiment with experimental bioluminescent subdermal implants, tiny lights under the skin that glow during high-energy dance routines. The drama peaked when a member suffered a severe systemic infection from a non-medical grade implant just days before a major televised comeback, nearly resulting in permanent facial paralysis and a PR disaster that would have framed the agency as negligent. JYP's leadership was horrified to find that their stars were treating their bodies like hardware that could be upgraded at will, risking not only their health, but the very visual brand that the company spends millions to maintain and ensure. The agency issued a draconian biological integrity clause, requiring weekly full-body scans to ensure no unauthorized modifications have been made to the idol's anatomy. JYP's stance is firm. An idol's face and body are the company's most sacred intellectual property, and any hacking of that property is a breach of the ultimate contract. The fear of a botched procedure or a mutated look that scares off sponsors has turned the idol's own skin into a restricted zone. But as we reach the pinnacle of this list, the most dangerous hobby isn't physical or digital, it's emotional. What kind of forbidden social experiment has JYP terrified that the Starkids might actually walk away from fame forever? 1. Deep cover social integration. The ultimate identity breach. In the highest tier of the forbidden, we find a hobby so subtle and yet so destructive to the K-pop machine that JYP has labeled it the black hole of idol management. Deep cover social integration. This isn't about secret dating or clubbing. It's the sophisticated practice of idols using hyper-realistic prosthetic makeup, voice modulators, and fake identities to live entire secondary lives as normal, blue-collar citizens. In 2026, the Starkids leader was discovered to have spent months working weekend shifts at a quiet, rural library under a completely fabricated persona, finding more fulfillment in organizing books and talking to elderly patrons than in performing for 80,000 screaming fans. When JYP's elite security detail finally tracked the member down to a tiny one-bedroom apartment they had rented in secret, the agency realized they weren't facing a scandal of malice, but a scandal of detachment. The fear within the boardroom is palpable. If an idol realizes they are happier as a nobody, the multi-billion-dollar illusion of the K-pop dream collapses instantly. JYP banned this identity LARPing because it creates a psychological drift where the artist begins to resent their fame, seeing it as a costume they are forced to wear rather than a privilege. The company argues that an idol must be all in, and maintaining a secret, mundane life is the ultimate form of emotional desertion that could lead to a sudden, permanent retirement at the height of their success. It is a battle for the heart, where the agency must ensure that the star never finds out how much they actually love the Earth. By cutting off these secret lives, JYP is trying to save the group, but in doing so, are they inadvertently extinguishing the very human spark that made the Starkids so relatable in the first place? As the curtain falls on our list, we are left with the chilling realization that in 2026, the most dangerous thing an idol can do is simply try to be human.